Let's shift gears, hard shift here, and discuss what's happening in the international community, uh, particularly with the U.S. led airstrikes um, in Syria. It's going underneath the on Twitter because with everything that happens, we do have not that the hashtag's not important, but I think the purpose of the hashtag is extremely important. Pray for Syria. We pray for everything. Pray for Syria. So the U.S. has quote unquote accidentally bombed a reported 85 Syrian civilians. With a death toll of 56, and actually that toll has gone up to 60 as of this airtime. That includes 11 children because they mistook them for ISIS terrorists, operatives, and soldiers, militants. It's being described as a nightmare. Pictures and images of children buried under the rubble, bodies torn apart. This is the so think if you think about it this way, if 85 American citizens were taken out by a mistake, by a US mistake, let alone I'm not talking about a war, right? I'm talking about a US drone mistake killing 85 or bombing 85 and killing over 60. It would be revolutionary in that we would see an end to the droning program that day. That would be it. But we have created this otherism of people who are not American, primarily. That's the first thing. But we have some sympathy and empathy for Europeans. Every time something happens in France, pray for France, right? We have some kind of bond, an emotional bond that we can identify with the pain, and we see it as a tragedy. But then when we go to predominantly Muslim or Arabic nations or Middle Eastern nations, we are and African nations, we absolutely do not feel that pain, not as a collective American conscience. No, we don't, because we don't give it a second thought. We don't have massive campaigns for the torn and tattered bodies of small Muslim children. And that's the first thing. It's that, these are, you know what? I think in spite of me being callous at times, I think part of my job is to humanize people that we otherwise would overlook. But these were families. These were men and women and boys and girls, sisters and brothers trying to escape violence, who were massacred by the U.S. government because of an error and a mistake. Entire families. And it's almost to the point where it's the magnitude or the frequency with which this happens and how much carnage we have caused in the region. It feels empty to look at the families, this one incident, and shine a lot of light on this because it happens so frequently. But just imagine if this was an American family or 85 citizens. We shouldn't dehumanize, or we should not. And it's not even, I don't think it's as far as us regular people, citizens, I don't think it's an intentional dehumanization. I think it's it's an omission. We just forget that they are human, and we forget to give them a moment's thought in our mind, and even less a moment of time in our heart to realize that because of our tax dollar programs carried out and executed with our tax dollars, you have families that are broken and destroyed and completely the entire line, this bloodline wiped out. That's the first side of it. Then the second side of it, How can we be surprised when people become radicalized under these types of conditions? Don't tell me, America is great. Don't tell me that we are righteous and that we are just and that what we do is always right. Don't give me the fairy tale of America when and then use that fairy tale to dehumanize and to vilify an entire religion and say that these people are going online to get radicalized, when in actuality a lot of them have to do is look outside of their front damn door and see everything that they would ever need to see to hate the United States for the rest of their life. There should not be a single person in America who is surprised that there are people who hate us. They don't hate us because of the way. Here's the line they always get, and I'm sure you've heard it at the RNC this week. They hate us because of the way of they hate our way of lives. I can't even say it right now. They hate us because of the way of our life. Or shit, I tried it twice and messed up even worse. Right? They hate our lifestyle. They hate our freedom. They hate our democracy. They hate this. They hate that. And they're just, the axis of evil. No, you bombed the shit out of their cousin. You bombed the hell out of their entire community. You destabilized not only their community, their nation, but the entire region. And you expect them to not, hell, we get mad here in America when we talk about raising taxes. People talk about Second Amendment remedies when we talk about raising taxes. Yet they don't expect people to get radicalized when we have torn their children's bodies apart with droning programs. I place a very high value on human life. As if you can't tell, I put a very high value on human life, and I'm not capable of qualifying which human life. I can't. And if you see any other human being as less human than you or less valuable than you are not a good person. You are definitely not a good Christian, in my opinion, right? You're definitely not a good Christian from what I read. You're just not a good person, and you're not anything that should be celebrated or championed, because there's no human life that's more valuable than the next. And if you look at these people and can just turn a blind eye and just casually dismiss the pain that we caused as a nation, man, I was going to say you might be a conservative, but that's not fair. That's not fair. You just aren't a good person. And I think it happens. That's a bipartisan thing. This is this is a continuation. This is President Obama's policy abroad, right? This has no party affiliation. This is a bipartisan consensus in Washington that we're going to maintain this militaristic exploit in the region and assert our dominance, even to the expense of the lives of hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of innocent people. So that's what's happening in the international news, and yeah, that shit is depressing as hell.